If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Hey, welcome back to the conversation, CEO Mischief Makers. I can't believe the things we have covered in the last two episodes. If you are landing on this for the first time and you have not heard my previous conversations with Dr. Ellen Wong, you need to go back to the other conversations to set you up for what we're going to talk about now, which is strategy and tactics. All right, so Ellen, we talked last time. You so beautifully set up the productivity that does not create happiness. Mm-hmm. And so now let's tackle with this whole idea of strategy and tactics with your happiness framework, the correct or the productivity that you help people and specifically entrepreneurs understand to help them become more happy. So what is that productivity? How does it work?
I always ask the one fundamental question when we start tackling this pillar out of the 9 pillars of happiness. The question I ask is, do I feel in control, or I get people to ask themselves this question, do I feel in control of how I use my time? And I usually get people to just sit with that for a minute. Most people will take me down the exception. When I'm launching something, when it's really busy, I'm like, no. I get that. I am not sitting here. I am very realistic. I understand that as an entrepreneur, there will be seasons and months where things just don't feel like they're in your control. That's fine. I get it, right? We all have launched things. We all totally get it. That's not what I'm talking about. I just feel in general, right? Do I feel in control of how I use my time? Most people don't have a very solid yes to that.
Yeah, I get that. I can see that completely.
Mm-hmm. And then I usually say, okay, so there's a couple things we need to piece together here. One is that we need to understand that the happiest, most successful people make sure that they divide their time towards 3 main spheres. We have the obvious one, the work sphere. So whether you're, it's career or entrepreneur, whatever, there's a work one, that's fine. There is a you one, like something that is for yourself, whether it's your health, whether it's self-development, it doesn't matter. Like there's a sphere that is just you. And then there's a sphere of people you love and want to spend time with. That includes your family, your friends, anybody like in that realm. So the first thing I do is get people to take an inventory then without making any changes of their next 2 weeks. And it's not, you don't have to actually have to go through the next 2 weeks. You just have to tell me and go through it and just sit a moment and reflect over the next 2 weeks. Like, how is that time divided? 90+% of the time, people will tell me what work they need to do in the next 2 weeks. Very people come back and say, oh, in the next 2 weeks, I am making sure that this time is for me to do this thing that is important for my sense of purpose or like my personal development or just me, like me time. And then again, people will be like, oh, like, yeah, I obviously spend time with my family. Like I eat dinner with them every day. And I'm like, but like, are we actually eating dinner with them and focused and being present? Or are we physically sitting there, but mentally we are in front of our laptop or our computer or our workstation trying to figure out what to do next, right? Because sure, like lots of people sit down and eat dinner, but they don't sit down and truly, actually taste their meal. They're not present. They're not actually having good conversations with the people around them, or they're doing it and they're just super rushed so that they can move on to go back to work, right? So
Right. Right.
I just want people to take, I usually get people to take an inventory of these things, how they feel in the moments. And then, yes, then we start diving into like, what's the one thing we can do to start taking back control of your time. It's a, I don't want to say it's a long process. It's back to our very first conversation. It's a mindset shift. It's
Yeah.
being able to understand that if you learn to control your time without that hustle, you will actually be more productive and you will actually feel happier. So yeah, then we can talk about like, what does it mean to slow down? What does it mean to pick the one task you're going to focus on? What does it mean to plan out your week? How do we remove distractions? Like these are all things that we can like get into the nitty gritty of. But what is that overarching umbrella around all of this is learning how to control your use of time and dedicate it to those three circles, those three spheres, realms that I mentioned a little bit earlier.
Absolutely. It is so vital. And even I agree 100%. Most of us are going to go straight to the work one because that's the one on our calendar. That's the one
Mhm,
that we think we can impact the most to be able to make the most money.
mhm,
But same thing with the other two. And even so, let's say the personal, the me time, even if it's to the extent of of just journaling,
mhm,
just taking that every morning and just writing down what's going on in your mind,
mhm,
in your personal space, just your own thoughts. If
mhm,
it's just that, I've found that when I've gotten out of that practice and out of my morning routine practices, I have a power morning,
mhm,
and each of the letters of that stands for something too. So, but the journaling part alone, if I just spend time with myself, just
mhm,
what's going on,
mhm,
and it's different days, right? I might write something in my journal, I'm pissed about something, or I might write something
mhm,
about my journal, it's, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I'm so happy.
mhm,
It's wonderful. Whatever the case may be. But just spending that time, if you just do
mhm,
that, that's a step, a baby step
mhm,
toward carving out that sphere for
mhm,
yourself.
mhm,
And the
mhm,
same thing with our partners, our loved ones, our children, especially when your children are young, it's so
mhm, mhm.
easy to
Yeah,
get into the habit of just listening, but not really listening.
yeah,
Just like,
yeah.
especially somebody who's a chatty 2-year-old, right?
Yeah,
Chatty 3-year-old, just,
yeah,
because you're making dinner or you're doing
yeah,
something and you're not really listening. If
yeah.
you just take, you're not, so here's the deal. And tell me if you agree with me.
Mm,
If I've got my 3-year-old sitting there talking about blah, 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 the neighbor's dog and whatever, and I'm trying to either look at my phone or do something on the computer, I'm not doing either of those
mhm,
things effectively.
mhm.
I'm not working
Yep,
effectively and I'm not listening effectively. So
yep,
just stop.
yep,
Just stop. Stop
yep.
one, focus on one. If you have
Mhm,
to say, you know what, love, I'd love to listen to you, but right now mommy has to finish this thing. If that's the case, you've got a major fire, whatever, do that.
yeah,
Most of the time, that's not going to be the case.
yeah,
Most of the time, it's not an urgency.
yeah.
So stop the computer, look at your kid, focus
Mhm,
on what they're saying,
mhm.
and tell me if you agree. This will also help them not have to bug you and try and get your attention so much because they
Yeah,
know you're not paying attention. They're
yeah,
not stupid.
yeah. Kids especially, I mean, I don't wanna say especially younger kids, but I think sort of before the adults in society talk them out of it, they're very, very perceptive, right? And
Yeah.
so they're very emotionally in tune, and
Yep.
they know if you're
Yep.
present with them and
Yep.
not, and and your presence makes them feel safe, which is what they need
That's
at
right.
that age. And
Yeah.
when you do, when you're focusing, I mean, we dive into this again, whole other
Yep.
conversations, but like no such
Yep.
thing as true multitasking, right? You're just
Nope.
context shifting from one thing to
Yep.
another. And then it goes back to that health piece because it drains your mental energy when you try to do three different things at any given time. And like
Yeah.
I tell people, like, you know what, like your mental capacity only is so much, right? And so if you're chopping vegetables for the salad and you want to listen to a podcast at the same time, no problem because chopping
Yeah.
vegetables tends not to take a ton of mental capacity. But if you're
Right.
trying to listen to your child, however old they are, trying to connect with you by sharing something, and you're also on your computer and you're looking at your computer, neither of those things are being done well, right? Because they
No.
both take lots of mental energy. And I
Yes.
think it's interesting that you bring this up because one of the first things that I do everybody, I would say everybody, lots of people have heard time blocking is an effective way to be productive. I actually will sit down with a client and build out a weekly sample time blocking calendar because I find that when I actually sit down and make people kind of go, exactly how many hours are we working? And it's all not just about the hours, like everybody has a different energy cycle. So some people are more productive in the morning, some people are more productive in the
Mhm.
afternoon. And we like learn to sort of adapt our calendars and the things that we need to do in our business based on our energy cycles. And then I'm usually like, how are we starting our day? What's this time block for? So for you, like your power morning, right? Like what does that look like? What is our wind down routine? What is our end of day routine? What does Friday afternoon look like? What does our weekend look like? And I will just like say to people like this Friday afternoon is dedicated to you. The next Friday afternoon may be dedicated to your partner. The other Friday afternoon may be dedicated to your kids. Like that's an example, and every family is going to be different. It doesn't matter. The point is like I will build out a calendar with my clients because it is super important that it actually if you see it, then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, like that's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And the amount of and I don't want to be stereotypical, but like the amount of women who will come back and be like, haven't had an afternoon to myself in like months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, every single entrepreneur I know, their mind doesn't stop because there's never done. You can
Right.
either launch the next thing or go back and optimize something else. So the work is actually never done. And
Right.
because of that, you actually use a lot of mental cycles and a lot of mental energy. If you don't take adequate time to replenish that, you're just not going to be effective. It doesn't matter. And so, like, when women come back and they're like, oh, I took myself on a day to the spa and it was like the first time in 6 months. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't have to go to the spa every Friday afternoon, but like once
No.
every 6 months is not okay. It's not
Right.
sustainable.
Right.
Back
Yeah.
to that S in the happiness, right? Like the last S,
Yes.
like it has to be sustainable. And to be sustainably productive, you actually have to learn how to take back control of your time.
Absolutely. All right. All right. All of the mischief makers out there, I hope you heard that. And I hope you are going to look at productivity very differently, or being productive with your time very differently now that Ellen has outlined that for you, because it's not about getting more done in less time.
Mhm,
It's being in control of what you get done at the
mhm.
time you need to get it done.
Yeah,
When we
absolutely.
feel in control, we are much more happy.
Yeah,
If we feel
yeah,
like someone else is oppressing us and making us do something, like
yeah.
even your clients, if you look at your clients as being the ones dictating what you have to do, you're not a happy person.
Mhm,
Switch that mindset over and say, no, I either get to do this and want to do this with the client, or get rid of the client. Really,
mhm,
really, let's just lay it out.
mhm.
That's how you can look at your business. It is your business after all. You started the darn thing. Why did you start it? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So be productive in this sense, in
yeah,
control of your calendar. Oh my
yep.
goodness, that's beautiful. So let's take it another one. I know we can't go through all 9 of them. We're not going to go through the whole process. You have a whole framework that anyone listening to our voices can go partake of and become more happy as an entrepreneur. But let's take one other of your framework. Let's say the easiest one, the maybe the baby step, the baby step that someone can take in your framework to really start on this road to being a happier entrepreneur.
Okay, I will share the easiest one, and then there's one challenge I wanna throw out there for us
Please.
to end on, if that is okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the easiest one, and I'm always cognizant of saying the word easy because I feel like sometimes what you and I might think is easy or what I think is
Yeah.
easy may not be super
Yeah.
easy, but here's one that
Oh
I
yeah.
think is doable. Here's one that I think is doable. N was the one for nature, okay? I think it is really important that we spend time outdoors, but quality time outdoors. So, yes, of course, we can go for walks and listen to our podcasts and like do those like business development, like personal development things and all that. I would love for anyone listening to this to go outside for a walk this week and do, even if it's 15 minutes, I don't want you to listen to anything. I just want you to pay attention to your surroundings and your neighborhood. The thing that helps with this is trying to find the one thing that you never knew was there. It's a level of presence that we don't often have. And it's also very easy for us, again, trying to be very productive and efficient. Like, I'm going to go out for a walk so I get my exercise in and I get nature in and fresh air. But while I go do this other thing and whatnot, and I'll like talk to someone or I'll call a friend or have a meeting, like those are all really, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I really think it's important because when we do those things, when we're listening to our podcast or chatting with a friend or having a business meeting, like we're not actually spending quality time in nature. And it doesn't take long, just 10 to 15 minutes. It boosts your mood. It increases your health. It improves your productivity. It improves your creativity, problem solving skills, all those things. 10 to 15 minutes. And to encourage being present instead of, again, thinking about the next thing you have to do on your to-do list, I want you to look for something on your walk that you've never seen before. You'd be surprised what you'll find.
I love this so much. So I have to tell you, I've lived in the same neighborhood for 26 years.
Mhm.
So this neighborhood has changed not drastically, but it's changed, right? Owners of houses have changed, paint colors, landscapes,
Yeah.
right? Roads, lots of things have changed.
Mhm.
And so I can find something. And most of the time, because it's the same neighborhood, I
Mhm.
admit I will listen to a podcast or listen to music or
Mhm.
something as I'm
Mhm.
walking. But many times I will go, you know what? No, I just want to experience the neighborhood because it changes daily. I mean, we're talking from late summer to winter, that fall, the changes in the leaves on the trees and the branches are marked. I mean, it's just amazing. And the smells, you can even look at that when you
Yep.
go in the morning. If it's a weekend morning and someone's cooking breakfast,
Yeah.
right? You're going to
Yeah.
walk through and you're going to smell different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I mean, the sounds, everything
Yeah.
and I'm a nature gal. So we go hiking. We live very near the mountains. And so we go hiking and
Nice.
snowshoes and all kinds of things all the time. But just being present, even just walking in my own yard. We only have like a third of an acre. We're not huge, property here. But my husband has done an incredible job landscaping this area. And so I walk out in spring, summer, and fall in the morning with my cup of coffee. And I just walk around and look at the environment.
And it
Listen
doesn't
to the
have to be
birds.
anything. Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything dramatic. As a matter of fact, just noticing even the light and how it hits a window or like a particular corner. And like that's noticing something new. And, sometimes I feel like each one of those things can spark awe and gratitude and cultivate a sense of meaning in our lives if we allow it to, right? And sometimes I'll like see somebody walk by and I like see that they're thinking and I'm kind of wondering like wonder what's going on in their life and wonder what their story is. Like it's just creates a sense of connection to like your neighborhood, the people around you, the things around you. And again, it brings us back down to that sense of peace and presence instead of frankly just constantly being distracted by something. Because even if it's a personal development thing, even if it's that and it's quote unquote good for you and beneficial, it's still a distraction from being present. And we need that sense of presence in our lives.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.